I'm delighted that this season of Crazy Sexy Food is sponsored by premium appliance manufacturer Miele. Over the last few years, I have got close to this incredible brand through Tom Kerridge's Pub in the Park Festival, where I've had the pleasure to watch and eat dishes prepared by some of the UK's finest chefs using Miele. I was also invited to a special event by the brand at the fabulous Exton Park, which features Miele throughout, with lunch cooked by one of the UK's most exciting and innovative restaurateurs, Tommy Banks. If you are on a kitchen journey, I would highly recommend a visit to one of its experience centres, where you will not only receive bespoke advice, but can also join one of the many courses to experience its appliances firsthand, including getting to enjoy lots of delicious food. Excitingly, it's opening a new Mayfair store, which is just opposite the Ritz, a great way to spend an afternoon. This year is an exciting milestone for the family-owned company, who will be celebrating its 125th anniversary. And while Miele continues to innovate, it stays true to its motto, Immer besser, which means forever better. The majority of its products are put through tough durability tests during the development phase to simulate 20 years' use. For ovens, this includes opening and closing the door 24,000 times. To celebrate the partnership, Miele is kindly giving my listeners 10% off its fabulous appliances on miele.co.uk or through its experience centres until September with the code CrazyMiele. I'm so excited to have my first couple of the season in bed with me today. Camilla Kerslake and Chris Robshaw join me from room 212 at the Four Seasons Hotel London at Park Lane, and we're about to order room service and have a proper chat. Camilla is a Brit-nominated classical singer. Chris is a former rugby union player and was captain of the English team, and they're here to talk with me all about food and everything in between. I actually love the link between food and these two careers, as it plays such an interesting but different role for both. Guys, I love this for us. 3 in a bed. Camilla,
casual.
Chris, welcome to Crazy Sexy Food.
Thank you for having us.
Did you think that you'd be here on a random Monday?
I didn't.
In
but
bed
I mean,
with a new woman?
I feel like this is more of a treat for Chris.
Getting a bit of trouble.
Technically 4 in a bed.
Well, exactly. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you, and congratulations to
Thank you. I mean, God, yeah, congratulations.
New
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes.
No, don't congratulate him. His part was relatively
tough.
brief and quite enjoyable. No.
I mean, it was a pivotal part, but brief.
Efficient.
Not his first rodeo.
Yeah.
Gets it done.
Oh, start as you mean to go on. How are you feeling?
I feel fine. I feel fine. The first trimester was, traditionally.
Yeah.
Can I swear on your podcast?
Oh, absolutely.
Shit. Being pregnant is shit. But my second trimester, I was working loads.
Right.
I did 2 back-to-back operas at the English National Opera. Luckily, one of them was handmade, so it didn't matter that I was pregnant. And the other one, I was an evil witch. Typecast. But yeah, actually, since I've slowed down, it has got a bit better. And now I'm first week of my third. I just feel large. I'm just slow and large, but I know
it all.
Can't complain, really.
And what her cravings like?
They've been interesting, mainly the pizza phase.
Okay.
I think
What's
last
his
week we
favourite
had kind of pizza 5 times last week, which I don't mind. I'm happy to go with that one,
absolutely.
so that's okay.
So are you sort of doing it sort of out of sympathy as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Just kind of cracking on
and
with it?
they say, obviously, it's when the dad puts on weight during pregnancy, it is a thing.
Absolutely. It's like a phantom pregnancy or something, I think. So I must ask, obviously this is a food podcast, who is the primary cook in this relationship?
Camilla, I think, yeah.
Are you?
I love cooking. I find it really interesting. And, I because of both of our jobs, there was a long period where we both had to have really low body fat percentages for different reasons. Chris because of his athletic fitness and me because of societal expectations. So I would always try and make things as flavorful as possible with sort of minimal carbs, or if there was a carb, it would be a natural carb, like a natural grain or something. So basically I have spent my whole cooking career trying to figure out how to make essentially meat and vegetables taste as delicious and exciting and different as possible.
Okay, so what's the secret?
Gosh, like herbs and spices and stealing from, you know, restaurants and like other cultures. And
Stealing from restaurants. What do you see? Just like the ideas.
I mean, like largely, I mean,
I thought you were talking about like the salt and pepper shaker.
we do have.
We do have the sexy fish.
We have the
little
sexy, yeah.
You heard it here first.
Which they actually say on the bottom, stolen from sexy.
Oh, really?
No,
Oh,
but
I
you
think
know-
I like that.
I wasn't going to steal them. I was like, oh, this little, because they're little kissy fish, and you put your chopsticks on them. And I looked at them, I thought, this is so sweet, and it had something written underneath that said stolen from sexy fish. I was like, that's basically an invitation. So I took 2.
But we're redoing our kitchen at the moment.
Okay.
So we've got like a makeshift hob and like
Yeah,
a
it's
kettle. So
very
we're
sad.
eating like scrambled eggs and beans on toast, all takeaways. That's kind of it.
When's that going to be completed?
Hopefully about 2 weeks.
Okay. Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. Like, we've sort of designed it in like such a way. My dad, he used to chef. He was actually an award-winning pie maker in New Zealand.
Oh my gosh.
So we've got the kitchen island, but I've kind of done the kitchen island sink cooker in a galley style because it's just so much easier to pick up there. You know, and then I've got, because we do also love to socialise, we've got like a big butcher's block. So I just think if I have friends around, you know, they could just chop while we're chatting. And on the other side, we have like a little cocktail stool area. So they can be cocktailing, we
Love
can be
that.
chopping, I can be cooking. Yeah.
Perfect. Sounds wonderful. And I must ask, what was the first dish you cooked each other? And who was the first to cook for the other?
Camilla was a vegetarian when we met.
Yeah, I was.
So you didn't cook her anything.
So I don't think I did cook her anything. No, I think we went out for meals.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Every other partner I'd had been sort of super happy to, you know, exchange like chicken for like a corn or something. And that's what I'd always done. It always worked really well. And, you know, I'd just maybe fry them up a bit of chicken on the side or something, and then they could just chop it and put it in. But not this guy. It's just...
I had the odd bit of corn.
Okay.
I guess he couldn't, like, because of, you know, like protein intake and all that kind of stuff. But, yeah, I mean, until my last pregnancy, I was vegetarian on and off for about... 15, 20 years.
Wow.
I know.
What, how did you make the change, or why?
I just couldn't think of anything but meat.
Was this linked
was
to
meat.
a pregnancy by chance?
Yeah, it was my first pregnancy.
And
then
okay, they say this happens.
It was mad, and you know, well done if you've managed to maintain your vegetarianism or your veganism. But I just couldn't. Like, it was absolutely bizarre. I remember first trimester, Chris had fried up this ribeye, and I'm salivating now because I'm still the same. And like I ate the fat from the middle
By itself with nothing on.
And I was just like, what is happening
you
to me?
really did come onto
I
the
was
other
a
side.
savage.
That is serious.
And then I was like, as soon as I'm not pregnant anymore, I'm never going to eat meat again. And then, of course, breastfeeding, it was even worse.
Wow.
So
I'm so fascinated by how like the body changes and craves certain things when like something, you know what I mean, like a pregnancy happens. It is amazing. So we are going to get into your careers, and also particularly, as I said in the intro, just how food is linked to them, because they're both quite interesting careers in that sense. But Chris, I'd love to talk to you about VinX, which you sit on the board for. Can you sort of tell us what it's about and what led you sort of down this path?
Yeah, so VinX is a wine investment platform that I work for. And it's brilliant. I've always had a massive interest in wine, enjoyed it. I actually invested in some wine about 20 years ago when a friend was working for them, and then an opportunity there came up, and with it, it's given me a brilliant opportunity to go down to Bordeaux, go to Italy, go to Tuscany, all these kind of things, and you have that kind of
life.
work
I know
trips.
these kind of luxury lifestyle.
I'm away
things.
for 3 days in
and we
Tuscany.
take clients down there, and it's amazing. Like when you go, you must have been to some vineyards, and when you smell those barrel rooms, they're incredible.
So tell us, what is your favourite wine?
My favourite wine, and it's probably not from that kind of region. I love just a Pinot Noir.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit more simple than some of the heavier hitting ones.
Okay.
But a little bit smoother, and I prefer that.
And so are you quite into like pairing your wines with food and
I actually did my WSET 2.
Oh, wow.
And when you're doing that, you have to, it says to go get certain food. So you're getting like Monster Munch crisps and stuff like that, or a bit of cheese.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, so you're really pairing it with extreme stuff, just to see what it's like.
So the fact that you've mentioned Monster Munch in the first sort of 5 minutes of this conversation, most of my listeners will know that I have a huge obsession with Monster Munch. Are we talking about a pickled onion flavour?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, you got to backtrack. So you're eating the pickled onion Monster Munch to go with the wines?
Yeah.
Well, like one
so
wine.
what goes with a pickled onion Monster Munch?
So every kind of week it would say, go get 3 foods, and it'll give you a list. Like you said, those crisps, this cheese, a bit of meat, maybe some salami or something like that. And then you just try it out and you see if it kind of brings out more flavour, more tannins. more alcohol and all
This is
that
the
kind of
best thing
stuff.
that's ever happened to me. I'm going to go buy loads of bottles of wine and just sort of figure out which.
Just with a load of crisps on the sofa, wine crisps.
You know what the best thing was about it personally? It was a bit sad because, you know, he was studying in the evening, so he would be gone like 3 hours. But the good thing for me was he's only allowed sort of a couple of sips, but they send a whole bottle of wine.
Yeah, it was a bit.
And like,
for you.
obviously, you wouldn't just get like a slither of cheese. It would be like you'd have to get like some Gouda or something. And you obviously you get like a big chunk of it. So when he would finish, he would just sort of slide it. And I would just sort of come out of my little TV snug, like all feral, and I would take the food and I'd take the wine, and he'd finish, and I would have had about 6 glasses of wine. I mean, he would have had like 3 or 4 sips of each, and I would just be hammered. I was like, "Yay!"
I love
Brilliant.
this. I love this.
Have you done your level 2 or anything?
I haven't done anything. I've done level 10 on Monster Munch, but that's probably about
Just
it.
completed it, mate.
The thing is, right, I have gone to like, I am into wines, but I get quite nervous because I'm not going to try and pretend to be someone that I'm not. I don't fully understand everything. I did do a wine tasting a couple years ago and I started heckling by the end, and I sort of, my husband had to carry me home because I realised that maybe you shouldn't drink all the glasses.
It's
You're
a
meant to
waste.
spit them out.
No, we're British. We don't
exactly.
waste
Oh, right,
That's
because
not
I
the
just
same,
went for it. So I was doing 12, a good 12 glasses.
I think the thing with wine now is, yes, you do still get those kind of snobby people,
Yeah.
but it's not like that. You just got to stick with and try stuff you like, be adventurous, put it out there. And I think now you see a lot of sports people, a lot of other people are drinking, instead of going out for 10 beers, they're drinking like one really nice bottle of wine
Absolutely.
or something
Yeah.
like that. And,
It's probably better
and
for
just
you as
enjoy
well.
it. Yeah.
Now, what I do as well is if I'm out and I let's say I just order a glass or something, ready, I will take a photo of the bottle so that I can remember it for sort of future when I'm like, oh, actually, I really liked that red. I wonder if I can buy that from so and
Chris
so.
has an app.
Whatever.
Yeah, the app.
Yes,
Vino.
yeah. It's actually really good.
It's great, and I've got a friend who's a big winey. So whenever I go to his house, I always Vino his wine he gives me, just to keep him honest, make sure
Perfect.
he's giving me the good stuff.
And where are some of the best wine bars in London or places to drink wine in London?
Oh wow, good question. I don't actually know.
I mean, all the top
a
hotels
lot of my
are pretty
stuff
amazing.
are, like the hotels are always good, especially like here, the Four Seasons.
Yeah.
It's going to be an
Oh,
amazing
yeah,
place to come
yeah.
have a drink.
He
Well,
wants a
look-
free stay.
But look, like I said, I've been lucky enough to go down to these places, go to the vineyards and stuff, and that's what. And I think like a lot of people, when you drink on holiday and stuff, you have the romance around wine.
Completely.
Whereas for me, I would never go home in the wet, the cold, and drink a glass of wine because it's not.
really?
Yeah, it's just not part of it. Like we don't really drink at home
No.
Okay.
unless we're going out or going out for a nice dinner. And that's more the time I would drink. If we're going out for a nice dinner, have a nice glass of wine, something like that. I probably wouldn't go out just for like one glass.
Yeah. So I want to take it back to your childhood. Okay. So Camilla, you were born in London, raised between here and New Zealand.
Yeah.
Chris, you're from Surrey. So I'm going to start with you, Camilla. Okay. I kind of want to know what your childhood was like. You know, what were you eating? Who was cooking? Was food important? Sort of paint that picture for us.
So I think the thing about growing up in New Zealand is the prevalence and availability of just the highest quality of seafood you can ever imagine. And, you know, we would just go to the beach and just with our feet, just go like this in the sand. And you just pull out the most incredible big fat, I think they're called bluff oysters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And you could just do that. Or like, you know, when I was growing up anyway, you sort of, when you would sort of hit 16, 17, quite often your parents would buy you like a boat, you know, not like a yacht. I'm not talking like a yacht. I'm talking like, you know, a little one with an electric motor at the back.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, like my grandfather would take us out fishing. We would get something while we were on the boat, gut it, throw it, like all the gross bits into the water, lemon juice, a bit of coconut milk, some spices, and then you put it in tin foil. And that's how the Maori people in the Pacific Islanders, that's how a lot of the time they prepare fish. And so you would get it, cook it, and sort of leave it in the sun, and you'd be eating it 20 minutes later, and it'd be the most incredible thing you've ever had.
Gosh, what a line.
And like green-lit mussels, like this big. Apparently they're like anti-cancer and everything, but, you know, we didn't know. We just used to eat tubs of them.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And so who was the primary cook in your household?
Oh, my dad.
Really?
Never my mum.
And so what dishes would you say remind you, aside from this one on the boat, what was he cooking sort of at home?
Pie, a lot of pie.
And you said he was an award-winning...
Multi-award-winning pie maker. So, I mean, to the point where he stopped entering because it got like a bit embarrassing. But the things he came up with, like a seafood pie, just I think, which sounds gross, but was
No,
amazing.
it sounds gorgeous.
And like a really, like a steak and cheese pie, but that was so deeply filled that he would sort of be whacking the stuff down with a spatula.
Right.
And then putting the like lid on.
Okay.
So like when you cut into it,
it was really like dense.
It's so dense, like almost too dense. Like when he makes it now, I have to have it with like sort of a creamy mash or something on the side because it's so rich.
Oh my gosh.
know.
What a lovely like childhood.
Yeah.
And then so how old were you when you came back to the UK?
I was 8 when we came
Okay.
back here.
And so that must have been a bit of a culture shock, no, in terms of not finding seafood and in the sand.
I really do miss the seafood. But also we moved to sort of Lancashire up north. And like they're sort of into their pies.
Yes.
There's a lot of hot pot.
Yep.
So I feel like, you know, we did move to sort of quite a good place food wise. And also, you know, we'd still get our little milks and things.
Yeah.
Nice warm milk. but yeah, I mean, I guess it was a culture shock because we went from sort of the suburbs of Auckland to a town with like 7 houses.
Wow.
In Lancashire.
Gosh.
But it was really nice. We got a really warm welcome. Like I said, I'm now a lifelong hot pot lover. So
there we go. And you, Chris, so, you know, Surrey, talk to me about what was going on in the household, who was cooking, what dishes remind you of your childhood?
Yep, my father died when I was pretty young, so my mum was a cook. Me and 2 brothers, so it was all kind of very hearty food.
Yeah.
Lasagna, shepherd's pie, cottage pie.
The good stuff.
Yeah, the proper home cooked food,
yeah.
English home cooked food, the gastropub, I'd say. So it's very much that now. So whenever I go and have a lasagna or something like that, it definitely reminds me still of home.
The pace of modern life can make us feel like we're always on the go. But Odyssey believes that slow food is the necessary antidote to the restlessness of it all. It brings us together, feeds conversation, creates new traditions, new rituals, and new stories. This is very much the ethos of Crazy Sexy Food, feeding conversations through food, and good food at that. I'm so happy to be partnering with Odyssey on this season of the podcast. They've been scouring Greece and further afield for the finest food producers since 1991, bringing the highest quality flavours that the Mediterranean has to offer. Their range is carefully curated to include hand-selected, traditionally cured olives, award-winning honey from lovingly tended bees, and premium quality oils sourced from only the most acclaimed regional producers. Food is a way to get back in touch with the things that matter most and connect on new and deeper levels. And so the lovely people at Odyssey are offering Crazy Sexy Food listeners 15% off at odyssey.com using the code CSF15. And then you went to boarding school.
Yeah.
I always like to know, what's the food like at boarding school?
It was okay, actually. But I do remember we had, I think we had dinner at like 5 o'clock.
Oh, that's early.
I know, exactly. And
Isn't
then
that some like old school British like tea? Isn't that like what they used to do back in the day?
But we would get home from school at 3 and then have like a snack.
I'd have a snack as well.
So maybe it was this combination.
It was our dinner, and then we would have.
Starving by the end of the night.
Well, we thought so, but then we just had a load of toast in the houses.
Okay, fine.
We just had toast in like Nesquik.
Oh wow, old school.
Exactly, yeah, just giving it a proper mix.
So lasagna was kind of on the menu. Do you make a lasagna now?
I don't really. I have done. I used to a lot, but more like a shepherd's pie. I like.
Okay. Yeah.
Spag bowl. He loves
Yeah,
spag bowl.
I love a spag bowl.
Spag bowl used to be my kind of pre-game meal as well.
Okay. Oh, you're already answering one of my questions that's
sorry.
coming up. That's all right. So I think what's like really interesting for me about both of your careers is that they are careers that the foundations are laid quite early on in life. You know, you don't sort of at 20 years old decide you want to become a professional rugby player. You've already sort of shown signs from that. So I'm going to just start with you. So talk to me about sort of the young Chris. I mean, I assume you were playing rugby at school.
Yeah.
And so was that something that you sort of knew that you wanted to do from early on?
Yeah, look, I was always very sporty. I played it all, football, like cricket, hockey, whatever it be. If it was a ball involved, I'd want to be playing. And then as I got a little bit older, I got a little bit bigger and probably suited rugby a bit more. My friends played it more, so you generally go into that way. And I was good, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't the best. And then as I kind of probably got into the 18s kind of thing, I got a little bit better, developed, and it became a real kind of ambition that I wanted to play. I was very dyslexic as a kid as well, so I didn't really enjoy the academic side of life or being in the classroom or anything like that. So as soon as I could be out there playing, that's where I wanted to be. And it was one of those ones where, and at 18, I don't think you really know what jobs are out there. What was this now? Almost 20 years ago, rugby wasn't on the TV that much. Like you had the big games, you had the Five Nations back then and the odd final. But then that was kind of it a year. It's not like now where every weekend there's 3 or 4 games on TV, so it becomes a much more an opportunity. So yeah, and I kind of went into it early on thinking, you know what, let's give this a go, and if nothing else comes back, I can go to university after that and stuff like that. But yeah, I was lucky, got picked up by Harlequins. I managed to go the whole way through there.
Amazing.
He says he was lucky, but he works twice as hard as
I was just
everyone
about to
else.
say, I mean, there is luck involved, but there's also
Hard work.
a lot of hard work.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, and there was a lot of sacrifices you make as a kid, and when all your friends are going out on some nights out and all this kind of stuff, you're at home and
I can imagine.
preparing and training and whatever else. And even as a kid, actually, as a teenager, I would go for runs at home. I used to have a little set of weights where I'd do my bicep curls and my squats and stuff like this. And it's that journey, things like that don't just happen. You've got to work extremely hard.
And I guess sort of, linking it to the food, I don't know why I'm so fascinated by the link between sort of sports and nutrition, because they obviously go side by side. But I can imagine your sort of understanding of what certain foods you should be eating, either when you're training, before a game, after a game. Your whole life is kind of around that. So how did you sort of navigate that?
Yeah, it's really, really interesting, and we get taught so much about it. And actually, one of the worst things about being a professional sports person is in the last week of the season, you have your skin folds done. So
I'm sorry, what?
So you have basically
Fat
all
measured.
your fat done. You measure
I
your
am
fat.
never going to be
Which
a
is-
sportsman.
and
What?
then-
This is the first time I'm hearing this.
And then the first week back after the summer break, you have it done again. And if your percentage has gone up too much, you have to go into like extra fitness camps
camp.
and a fat camp
Wait,
and all that.
What, why are they measuring from your skin? I can't even.
So it's like your skin folds basically around
Can't
your
they
body.
just measure like your BMI or like
It's
your?
the same thing.
Is
yeah,
all
but
this?
they do it, but it's
It's a bit
it's
more
more
precise.
accurate.
Wow,
It's
is
more
it? I
accurate,
didn't
yeah.
realise.
Yeah, so they do that. So then, of course, you let yourself go a little bit in the summer, but you don't want to let yourself go too much because you're not training 3 times a day anymore.
Of
You
course.
might even train 3 times a week in the off season.
Okay. So talk to me a bit about sort of the average day in terms of what you'd be eating when you were sort of at the prime.
Yeah, so I mean, you're probably eating 5-6 times a day. I'd eat kind of at home, couple of eggs in the morning, and then you go to training, do weights. You probably have then another breakfast of some description and a protein shake. You then do a rugby session, have some sort of light lunch, another rugby session, and have a kind of 3 o'clock meal, like I said, that's kind of school meal time. And then you probably get home post that, and then have some again at 7 o'clock at dinner.
And is it all very sort of high protein?
Yeah, and that's what you mean. It's eating the right stuff at the right time.
Right.
So when you finish training, you can have more of the carbohydrates, the pasta, potatoes, stuff like that. And then in the evenings, it's kind of, and I was very much, as Camilla says, meat and vegetables. And I didn't really deviate too much from that. It probably wasn't the most appetizing or exciting, but it was.
He's doing it down though.
It was good for me.
Like we'd go to Nando's and I would get like a butterfly chicken. If I was feeling like naughty, a bit of mash. If I wasn't, eat some spicy rice or whatever. He would get like a halloumi starter. He'd get like the pita bread starter. Then he'd get a whole chicken and 2 sides, and he would eat it all.
And I don't know how I would do that, because now I couldn't eat anything like that. My stomach has completely changed.
So interesting. Would you were you allowed to have, I hate calling them cheat days, but where you could sort of have what you wanted?
So normally after games, you
Fine.
generally kind of
What would be your
like.
go-to?
So I'd love a Chinese. I love a Chinese, yeah. So that would be my
Just
thing.
everything.
Yeah,
Just a bit of
exactly.
everything.
To share it, yeah.
And I guess, something that I find quite interesting, particularly with sports people that then retire, because obviously, you're going into the career knowing that you're not going to be doing it for the rest of your life, right? There is some kind of shelf life. And particularly with sort of like boxers, let's say, as an example, you always sort of like see a boxer disappear once they've retired, and you suddenly catch sight of them and they're, triple the size that they've, their whole being has changed. How did you sort of navigate that when you sort of stopped training? Because, you're probably burning however many calories every day. That's your lifestyle. That's your whole life.
It's tough, and it is a big worry actually for a lot of former athletes and stuff like that, because, like you said, you just get used to eating, and I don't think you can just suddenly stop. So for me, I've cut out breakfast. So I try not to have breakfast in the morning just because it's a meal less. And I know that my lunch and my dinner, I'm still going to eat the same amount. So
But also that is quite good. That's like an intermittent fast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you do just have to think like this. And also you know that you're not training as much, so you have to be a little bit more careful. But then on the other side of it, I know that my body is at my peak performance, so I probably can have that extra cookie and I can have that. So it's that type of fine balance.
Or the pizzas.
It's the wine and stuff.
Exactly.
Well, exactly. Also, I mean, so tell me, sort of, whilst you were sort of professional, alcohol off the cards.
Well, not off the cards, but very much probably a binge drinker.
Right. Okay.
As in, like, you would probably, as a team, go out once every 6 weeks or something, have a big night out, and then probably not drink again for, like we said, maybe go for a nice dinner, have a glass of wine, but that was kind of it. Whereas now, like you said, with the wine, I probably drink a little bit more than I used to.
Yeah.
But then that's just all part of it. Yeah, but I agree. You don't want to be that person who, in time to come, said, "Oh my God, isn't that Chris Robshaw?" Or "He looks like Chris Robshaw," or something like that. Because
No.
don't you?
Yeah, no,
Do it.
absolutely. And it's not being rude. It's just because I think, when you're training at that level, normal people don't train at that level. I'd like to think that I train at that level, but I'm not being paid enough bloody money to become you know what I mean? To just do it.
It's so hard though to train like
Yeah.
that. And even now, when I go to the gym, I'm like, whenever I've been to the gym in the past, I've got 3 other players. You're in a little group. I've got one S&C coach pushing us, telling us what to do, and it's there. Whereas now I go to the gym on my own, and I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I'm so bored. I've got no one to chat to.
Do you miss the lifestyle? Like, do you miss what comes with it?
I miss like the big occasions,
Yeah.
for sure. I miss the big games and stuff. Do I miss training in the middle of January when it's wet and cold and my shoulders are really sore? And
Probably not.
not really.
He was just battered and exhausted
I was
all the time.
I was tired a lot.
All
I was
the time.
tired a lot, and because you'd play Saturday, probably be sore. You wouldn't always get banged up, but you'd be sore for a couple of days, and then you'll prepare, and then you get good for 2 days, and then you're
The international hits are like getting hit by a car at 25 miles an hour.
What?
That's how hard they would hit at international level. He'd always have whiplash or like a broken hand, or he'd have a huge black eye.
I have to be completely honest in this moment. I was going to bring it up later on so that it was really quick and we could just like brush past it. But I don't fully understand the game of rugby.
okay.
I think purely I'm going to blame it on my dad.
I don't know. Either, but
I'm so glad you said
no
that.
idea,
I was also going to ask you that. That's good.
No.
I think because I was brought up in a football household, so I understand. Well, don't ask me about the offside rule, but I understand football. When I look at rugby, I find it so aggressive. I find it quite difficult sometimes to watch.
Yeah, it's.
And then I was asking my husband earlier, and he was like, "Yeah, you just sort of throw the ball backwards."
You have to throw the ball backwards to go forwards.
Yeah, but what?
Which people don't seem to understand.
What's going on there?
It's one of those
it's
games where I think you have to grow up playing it to
Fine,
really understand
yeah.
it, and it is a complex game. And generally, people are one or the other.
Okay.
You don't get many people who are really kind of huge fans of both.
But sort of on a mental side of things, like what you just said, and some of the games you're preparing to be hit by a force of, what was it, sorry? Like
20 to
like
25
20 miles an hour. How do you mentally prepare yourself for that? It's kind of like asking a boxer as well, how do you mentally prepare to be like, hit in the face?
Yeah, and it's tough. You got to, like you said, put your head in someone's knees who's running full speed at you, who's 20 stone and stuff like that, to try and take them down. It's firstly, look, you got to prepare your body. Your body's got to be conditioned and ready for that stuff. And definitely when you start pre-season, you're always a little bit achy and not quite unnervy. But then once you're into it, it's just part of it, really. But I watch it now. I go back and do some of the punditry work, and I watch it and I'm like, oh, that looks like it hurts, because I've been out of the game so long. And people ask me to play in the vets games or legends games they have every now and then, but it's one of those things where I think, because you're not conditioned, you're not ready for it. My head has been so far out of that space. I can't imagine getting back into it.
I think that might have been the doorbell. I think our food has arrived. Okay, so we had to have a little bit of a break. All the food arrived. We ordered quite a lot. Too much, but you know what? There's never too much. But we have saved one dish for camera, which is the cinnamon French toast with a lovely banana.
Look at the drip. There's a
No,
maple
there's a
syrup
drip. There's a drip.
We'll show
Oh,
it to
look,
camera.
it's dripping. It's
Slow
dripping.
motion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh, sexy. Okay, do you want to have a little taste?
Yes.
Okay, here.
How are we supposed to do this?
Well, just sort of fork it.
Fork it.
I've got a huge
fork it
sweet
as there we go.
tooth. I love
We might say something else there.
What?
Sorry.
I mean, Chris is great at forking, and this is the evidence. Oh, dear.
God,
you shouldn't have invited me in your bed. What did you expect?
Said no one ever. So, okay,
Fucking amazing. I got
great.
No,
That's
She's
all right.
spilling it down
It's-
herself. No one saw.
Do you want to have a little taste?
I'll have a small.
Go
bit.
on, go on. Have a little
The
bit.
baby wanted some.
Whilst you're trying that, I would love to, Camilla, just have a little chat. I guess about your relationship with food when it comes to your career, because equally, sort of similar to Chris, food plays a real pivotal part, particularly, I guess, around performance time, in the run up to getting your body prepared
Yeah, it's
for,
it's
a big.
big role.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's quite a tricky thing. So I feel like when I was younger, so I got signed by Gary Barlow to Universal when I was a teenager. And this was sort of in the noughties, and there was a lot more pressure, I think, on women to be a certain size back then. Like now it's kind of, how are you comfortable? How do you best do your job? How do you look great? Whereas back then it was very much, you have to be working out every day. So I sort of did get myself down to like a size 6, which
Wow.
it's not naturally how I would like to be. I think because I'm quite curvy naturally, so I think I've got a more happy medium now, that's for sure. But so the thing with crossover, which was what I was doing back then, is it is a lot easier to sing. It's a lot less technically and physically demanding. So I was able to, do a 2-hour show on a thing of soup. And I had to be because, and then afterwards you wouldn't eat, you just have to go straight to bed. Because the next morning you'd be up and you'd be rehearsing for the West End or off to another show. So that was very much how I lived. Cardio played a massive role in my life then. I would run there was a period I was running like a marathon a week, like 4 10Ks a week. And then I would do weights and everything.
And was this still down to, I guess, sort of the pressure of your physical appearance?
For sure. It was very, don't get me wrong, I sing better when I'm fitter, but there really is a limit. And pushing myself that hard and making myself that tired, whilst I could get away with it in my sort of early to mid 20s, with regards to opera, you only have a certain amount of physical energy every day. And with opera, when you're doing a big role, like I sing the Queen of the Night in the Magic Flute fairly regularly, and I mean, she sings the highest note for the human voice 5 times.
Wow.
And there is no way I would be able to essentially starve myself or really limit my calories and do that job. And that's what people are paid to hear. They don't care if I'm a size 6 or, like an 8, 10 or whatever. They want to hear me sing. And actually kind of on stage, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. So now I would say it definitely is a balancing act, because you can't eat too much, because then you do really get sluggish.
So what would like a normal day, let's say you've got, it's performance day, what does a normal day look like?
So again, I try when I'm not pregnant. It's absolutely impossible to do now, but I would try and not eat until about 11, because I find that way I can do a bit of fasted cardio, and it could literally just be walking the dog or a bit of gentle yoga if it's a show day. Nothing that's going to exhaust me, but still get my body going. And then I would have something like a heavy protein. I would always use a protein to start my day. So maybe eggs scrambled up with, like a courgette, a spinach, sun-dried tomatoes, all that kind of thing. Like really try and pack it with nutrition. And then a bit of cheese and stuff, because, you got to live. Or I would have like a big Greek yogurt with like whole nuts and some sort of fruit, a tiny bit of honey, really heavy protein. And then depending on what time, I would normally try and have a big meal around 3 p.m. if curtain up was 7:30.
Yeah.
So I try and have, I don't know, like chicken and rice or something that was really going to get me through and give me a decent amount of energy.
And also allowing your body to digest,
Exactly.
I assume. Yeah.
To digest and absorb the energy. And I'd also start onboarding water about then too.
Okay.
So I'd aim to drink sort of about 2 litres of water.
Wow.
Before that time, really, and then I'd just sort of carry on throughout the day. And then pre-show, I'd probably just get like an M&S sandwich, because I'm quite often at the Coliseum, and just Charing Cross, M&S. And I'd also get, a big thing of watermelon fingers.
Yes.
I love a finger.
Oh.
Love a finger.
I just want to say so much right now.
But Because then you're sort of eating your water too.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing, like, for example, I just did Peter Grimes, and we were sort of on and off, but we had some breaks. But we just did Curtain Down on Handmaid's Tale, and we were kind of on stage for the whole thing. There was so little downtime. So you couldn't run off and quickly have a sip of water. So I would start eating watermelon.
Okay. It's interesting because you just mentioned dairy there. And I thought that with professional singers, so I've heard a lot of interviews with musicians, that things like dairy or spicy food can be not so great for your voice, or I assume it's okay for you.
I haven't personally noticed much of a reaction with regards to either. I guess if you have acid reflux, that can really be bad, but I would sort of just sleep elevated slightly. You know, if I have a bit of a cold, I'll just sort of sleep on a bit of an incline, and that's kind of fine. I think the thing with opera is the barometer, like the baseline is perfection. Like you have to be perfect. And then on top of that, it's your character, your flavour, like what do you bring to the role? Whereas when I was sort of doing crossover, because I hadn't trained in the way that I have now, because it sort of took me all of my 20s to save up enough money to do it, I didn't have that really solid foundation. So things like that really would affect me. So I wouldn't speak the day before or the day of a show, or I'd really try and limit it. And it was just kind of no way to live. You know, I was like in my 20s now, you know, wouldn't be going out and getting drunk with all my friends and all that kind of stuff if I had a show. And most weeks I had shows, you know. It's like very similar to Chris. I think that's...
So you both really dedicated yourself to the craft because you kind of have to.
You had to.
This is the pathway you've chosen, and
well, I think
discipline is really admirable.
I guess if you don't do it, you don't get to where we wanted to
if
get
you
to.
don't do it, someone else does it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And like Chris and I said, like, I am quite lucky with my voice type. So I'm a coloratura soprano. They're not that usual, and I'm also quite a heavy coloratura soprano, which is even more unusual. But with the crossover stuff, you know, there was lots of other girls who could sing just as well. You know, you had to be the one working the hardest. But basically, the thing with opera is I think you just get yourself you train to a point where you can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
Unless something is really wrong, like you're really ill or something. And I can normally tell before I get sick or sort of before my period comes or something, I can tell that it's coming because I'll practice and I'll be terrible.
Wow.
And then like 6 hours later, I'll be like, oh, okay, I feel sick now. Or, oh, there we go, surprise.
That's so even sort of like your hormonal changes.
Everything. If you sleep funny and you've got a crick in your neck, you then have to do 20 minutes of sort of stretching and everything before you go on. It's a whole body thing. It really is similar to being an athlete, which I think another reason why we got on so well.
Obviously, you know, you guys were destined to meet, and here we are. You have your little boy, Wilding. Mm-hmm. What is his eating like and his relationship with food? Oh no. Okay.
Not great. Mainly beige stuff.
Oh.
Okay. They go through that phase.
Yeah.
He'll come out of it.
I think when he was little, he used to eat everything. You put like, you know, sort of a kidney bean and he'd eat that. You put a floret of broccoli and he'd eat that. And now it's just...
Yeah, he likes kind of
crumpets and
stuff.
Chicken
we
nuggets.
Kind of we make smoothies.
Okay, that's
so
good.
we kind of sneak like spinach in there and broccoli and all that kind of stuff.
Hidden vegetables.
Yeah, love that.
Key.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, girl,
or like
I've got all of this to come.
You do like a pasta sauce, but it's got like loads of vegetables.
Yeah.
Yes.
And do you go out to restaurants with him, or is it a little bit too mad?
No, we do, yeah. More kind of cafes and pubs and like nicer restaurants, I think.
Like, I feel like you can choose to be child free, but you don't get to live in the child free world, basically. But at the same time, I would never take him somewhere nice at 7 p.m.
No.
Yeah.
Because, you know, people are trying to enjoy their lives.
Yeah.
But, you know, I would take him to a pub at 3 p.m. on a Sunday.
Sure.
You know, and that's fine.
And so you should.
And if he's causing a bit of mayhem, obviously, you know, we're not neglectful parents. We'll try and keep him down. And, you know, we love eating out, and we want him... and we want him to get used to it so we can do it together as a family.
Totally.
You know, you see like bougie kids, don't you? Like
just eat it nicely.
Yeah.
When we've been for sushi or something.
Oh, and they're there with like like 1.5 years old using chopsticks and
being quiet.
Yeah.
Like, how have they done that?
And Wilding sat in the corner with a bucket on his head, and you're like,
I'm definitely more him, still to this day actually. And when you are out and about, where's some of your favourite restaurants to eat at?
We've got a nice little sushi place near us at the moment.
Yeah.
We've just moved out of London, so we're kind of around that kind of world. But yeah, a nice sushi place we like.
we have been some absolutely incredible places. Like, we've always both loved food, but we only sort of got into like haute cuisine or, you know, gastronomic experiences when we were, still much younger than most people, but I remember Chris took me to Gordon Ramsay's at Claridge's.
Okay.
And it turned out that the chef or the guy running the show that day was like a Kiwi, and he was a huge rugby fan. So we ordered like a starter and a main, and he just kept sending things out.
Oh my gosh.
And it was crazy, the things like he sent out like a frog leg, which I didn't know what it was. Chris didn't know what it was. He just crunched the whole thing up. He was like, it's a bit chewy, that. I was like, I don't think you were meant to eat that bit, but cool. Yeah, we had the beef Wellington,
which I think is my favourite meal.
Yeah.
Really?
And we went, is it Petrus?
Oh, yeah.
Or was it, where did we have our wedding breakfast? Was it Gordon Ramsay or Petrus?
Ramsay's, Hospital Road.
Oh, it's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like, I don't know.
Before I sort of round up, I would love to talk about your joint venture, which is really, really important, which is the Kerslake Robshaw Foundation, which is a charity that creates opportunities for children to enjoy benefits of sport and music. Why did you guys want to sort of put your time towards this, and sort of how does it work? How can people get involved?
It was always a pipe dream of mine. I'm sure you know that arts, I think, is 7% working class. And opera, I think, is even worse. I think it's about 5%. So I spent the first few years of my life in a council house, single mum, that kind of thing. And basically, it was just so rare for me to be on stage with someone like myself. I think now it's happened once. Gosh. This lovely guy called Dominic, he did the Magic Flute with me at the ENO last month. That it's just once. And I just thought, this is such a shame. This is such a shame. There's this whole great swath of people that not only aren't getting to experience, the benefits, it improves all areas of academic achievement, music and sport, but also that aren't getting a chance to do it as a profession. And, I just thought that if I could help people circumnavigate this very confusing world, then why wouldn't I? Why can't I be everyone's nepotistic auntie if you don't actually have a nepotistic auntie? And I think for Chris it was slightly different.
I think for myself, and like I said, my father died when I was young, it became a massive kind of trauma recovery and stuff like that. And look, we've both been very fortunate with sport and music and the benefits it's given us, and it's got to take me all over the world and all that kind of stuff. And we wanted to give back. Like I said, it's been very good to us, but it's about how can we help that next generation. And so far, we've given out a huge amount of grants, and I would love it if we could raise $1 million over 10 years is our goal for various causes around the country and stuff. So that would be amazing.
And where can people? So you have a website,
KerslakeRobshawFoundation.com. We have an Instagram, but we would love to hear from you guys. We are always looking for new projects. It's very much not a London-based charity. We live in Surrey, but at the moment we're working with projects in Birmingham. We're working with a project.
Scotland.
But I mean, it's an opera company called Opera Bohemia, and they travel all around Scotland and the most remote, tiny places you can imagine. And sometimes it's the only classical music they will get to enjoy in their whole primary school education. But working with young offenders, keeping them sort of off the street, keeping them straight and narrow. We're working with people who've had the kind of overwhelming things that you just can't imagine people getting through, but somehow they do. Yeah. And if music and sport can help them, then why not?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if there's anything that I can ever do or help out, I'd love to get involved. That. So good for you. More of that, please.
Thank you.
Okay, I finished my
I
finished my interviews with a few quick fire questions. So this is how we're going to do it. Stop looking at my notes. You're looking at my notes, and so now I have to fold them completely in half. Okay, I'm going to start with Chris. What is the craziest food you've ever eaten?
I think I had crocodile when I went to Australia once.
What was that like?
Tough. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it wasn't particularly good.
Not the best.
Really tough chicken.
Oof. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
What's the craziest food you've ever eaten?
I was going to say frog's legs, but I've already said that. And then I had crocodile in South Africa, and it tasted like rank rubber fish.
Oh, you're really selling it to me.
It was disgusting.
Okay, Camilla, what's been your most memorable meal?
I think that first one, that Gordon Ramsay's Claridge's.
Oh,
it's the first time we had
yes.
ever done anything like that. It was so exciting. Amazing.
And I love that you can still remember all the details as well. That means it was...
It really was, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say the same, yeah.
Okay, all right, you're making this easy. Okay, now we have one for each of you. Chris, favourite game time snack? The rugby's on, big match.
What, if I'm playing or watching?
Watching. What are you going to have in front of the TV?
Oh, I quite like a burger.
Okay.
A nice burger.
Like, so what are we talking? With like a smash burger, or like he's like a slightly thicker patty?
You know what? Just a thick pate and cheese. I don't think you need to overcomplicate it.
Okay. Are you making it yourself? Or are you ordering it in?
I'd order it in, I think,
Who are you ordering from?
Or do a barbecue.
Oh, okay, fine.
I'll do it on the barbecue.
Okay, yeah. I think that's the
Get
one.
that going.
Do we want chips?
And I think ordering a burger is never good.
No.
Whenever I've ordered a burger, it's always a bit soggy.
It's a bit sweaty.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing.
So yeah, I'll do it myself on the barbecue. A little bit of cheese. Now I want to do chips.
Okay.
No,
Just keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Camilla, what are your 3 necessary items in the fridge?
That I have to have.
Yeah.
Okay. Greek yogurt. Jar of sun-dried tomatoes.
Ooh.
I think eggs.
Nice.
Do you keep eggs in the fridge?
Okay, well,
Or jam,
this is the debate that will probably go to my grave. I can see team members nodding heads and shaking heads. I personally don't think they should be kept.
We don't keep
put
ours
eggs
in the fridge.
But my husband does.
Okay.
But I still keep them out. So
Okay.
I run the kitchen in our household. So.
I think ours live out, but ours live out because we eat them so quickly.
So this is the thing. This is what they because it's difficult because people's argument is that, well, then why do you buy eggs from a supermarket and they're on the shelves?
Yeah.
But then
I
why
agree.
do you have egg holders in a fridge?
It's to mess with us. Let's be honest. They just want
It's
to.
Very
something.
good point,
It's something to do with keeping them fresh. I don't know. I'll come back to both of you on this.
Okay, yeah.
Important.
Okay, you've already kind of brought this up because I can't believe it happened so early in the conversation. But my favourite snack of all time is a packet of crisps, and you know which flavour they are. What is your favourite flavour of crisps and why?
Prawn cocktail.
Oh, yum. I love prawn cocktail.
No,
You don't like them?
no.
Why?
Another answer.
Oh, okay,
I'm joking. I just
don't know
can't
why.
stand prawn
I don't know
cocktail
why.
crisps.
You know what I can't stand? Ready salted.
Boring, yeah.
Who orders a ready salted crisps? I'm like,
Was that going to be your answer?
Camilla sometimes gets salted crisp, and I'm like,
Yeah,
or like
okay.
a sea salt. and
It
I'm like,
depends on the crisp. So I don't like a thin sort of like Walker's ready salted.
Yeah.
I'd want like a thick cut.
Like a chunky, ridgy.
Yeah,
ready
or
salted.
like even like a kettle chip. Like, it's just thicker.
I
I don't
need a
mind.
bit of texture to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I've been pregnant, I've really liked like a ridgy McCoy's.
Crinkly thing.
But then like it has to be like salt and vinegar.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Something that like kind of like burns your
You
tongue.
feel like
and,
you're getting a proper meal. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, I feel so satisfied.
I love a ridge cut as well because you actually there's more surface area and you get more flavouring on the actual crisp.
I think all crisps should be the thickness of sweet chili crisps. You know, the Walker Sensations.
Oh, okay, so
they
you
should
like
make
that
their
level.
regular crisps that thickness, and then they
Okay.
should make Sensations thicker.
Walkers.
And that packet size.
Yeah, and that packet size. I agree.
The same calories.
It's
as the
never
small one,
enough.
Yeah.
No, it's never enough. And also, I'm sorry, but you get the packet and half the
Yeah,
3/4
exactly.
of it is
It's just
there
air,
anyway.
yeah.
Okay, Camilla, what food sums up happiness for you?
Oh my goodness. I think Mexican. Because
Okay.
like when we were in California, we ate loads of Mexican. It was right on the border. So like, I mean, it was like authentic and it was just so fresh and so incredible. And like the herbs and spices and everything, like, you mean, I'd be eating it and I'd be like, oh, there's a cumin in there. Like, you know, and I would just like take it home and I would steal all their ideas. Never again replicated it as good. But I feel like, yeah, it just reminds me of like having our son, and also for the first time ever, both of us not working every hour that like God sends or whatever, you know, because no one knew who he was there, and I was pretty anonymous. I wasn't really working at all, and he'd go to rugby and he'd get back at 3 p.m. and we'd just walk along the beach, have an ice cream.
Divine.
Yeah.
What's your happy food?
Pick a mix.
Oh yeah.
Really? In fact, you've been
I know,
serving
I've
up
gone
some
through
bits.
most of these as
I know.
well.
Oh, that was full a minute
I've
ago.
had
Oh, yeah.
one.
I had one. Unbelievable. There's always,
Is that
you know,
we
he's
were
looking at
sharing
him. He's
them?
on the side over there, just like he's been busy sort of
Acting like-
snuffling
Well, when you two
away.
are talking, I can just...
Acting like eating pizza is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've got a massive sweet tooth.
Okay. So what's your favourite of all pick and mix?
I just like going to the cinema to get those
Yeah,
pick
fine.
mix.
Yeah, God, that
Like
reminds me of my
foam
childhood.
bananas, yeah.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I like the little sweethearts. You know, it's got like the foamy bit on the back.
Yeah, no, yeah.
And I like sour cherries.
Oh, I
Yes.
love sour cherries. I like a watermelon.
Yeah.
sour
Oh, I love.
And the pink and blue cola bottles. that are
Yes,
sugary.
I love those. And I sometimes quite like a fried egg, but I need to be in the
Yeah, I
mood
like a
for
fried
it.
egg.
It's
I
just
like a
it's
fried
quite
egg.
sort of like basic. Okay, final question: live to eat or eat to live?
Oh, live to eat.
Live to eat. Yeah.
Hey,
Come on.
the perfect threesome. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. This was so much fun. I'm I mean, the one-liners from this particular episode are going to be pretty epic, I'm not going to lie.
Publicist is through there going, shut up, like, just stop.
I mean, we'll be lucky if any of it gets over the line. But anyway, we'll try. Wishing you the best of luck. Guys, please check out their foundation. You're doing great things. Camilla, good luck over the... No, I was actually going to say good luck for the next few months.
Oh, yeah.
And until next time.
Thank you for listening. If you love what you hear, please subscribe and review. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram @CrazySexyFood. Until next time, bye.